Devil, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L, the devil.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another riveting episode of The Final Word here on the It's a Rap Sports Network with your boy MattyB at the helm yet again on this lovely Tuesday, February the 11th, 2025. And how the hell are you? I hope all is well. 24 hours post and counting. I guess we're working up on 48 hours at this point of Super Bowl victory bliss. Settling in around the Delaware Valley, the Eagles have returned home with the Lombardi Trophy. There's a new tapestry hanging out in front of, I almost said Citizen Bank Park, Lincoln Financial Field. There'll be new tapestries at Citizen Bank Park too this year. They'll be debuting their NL East 2024 flag, but a new tapestry is hanging out in front of Lincoln Financial Field, commemorating now the 2 Super Bowl championships the Eagles have had. The Eagles are starting to do the victory tour themselves. What is it? Jalen Hurts riding down the float there at Magic Kingdom in Disney World. Was that today or yesterday? It was recently. And then tonight, Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley going on national television with the Tonight Show. So, as they say, to the victors go the spoils. And the victory tour now will commence. And that will run, hopefully, for this team for the next 5-6 years. That's right. Because, again, the dynasty word for dynasty has definitely picked up traction since the Eagles have won the Super Bowl. And we'll continue our post-Super Bowl conversation tonight. Maybe not for an hour, but for a little while. And then we're going to transition because if you haven't noticed, tomorrow is the official start of the spring training baseball season. Phillies pitchers and catchers, selected free agents, and rookies will all convene on their first official workouts and Clearwater as it is officially underway tomorrow. Yes, most of the players have been in Clearwater probably since around New Year's, but you know what? Tomorrow, it's that check mark off the list of one thing closer to the baseball season, and that's the start of pitchers and catchers arriving. So we're going to dwell a little bit more. We're going to start amping up the Phillies talk. In the midst of a Super Bowl championship, we are going to start to amp up the Phillies talk. We'll get back into our of the night segment that we did not do last night. We'll get back into our card review segment, which we did not do last night. We'll try to get back into sort of a normal show flow, as last night, rightfully so, the show was somewhat hijacked by very good Eagles talk. Very, very, very constructive, down and dirty Eagles talk. And, of course, we'll start the show off tonight with our Day in Philadelphia Sports History, which we did not do last night. I alluded to it. It was a crew-related thing. Yes, rowing. We don't shy away from that here. Unfortunately, we did not do it because of again, the conversation was right off the bat, which was great. So strap on, strap in, keep your hands and your feet inside the car at all times, and let's go for a ride on this lovely Tuesday night on the program. And hockey news tonight, we're going to get into the Four Nations tournament as that'll start tomorrow. The Four Nations Olympic-style hockey tournament will begin tomorrow by the NHL. And yeah, we'll see what we have to offer with the Flyers on that. And yeah, we'll kind of see where the conversation takes us. So let's get it rolling and rocking and doing what we do here. Let's start it off with your day in Philadelphia sports history. And before we do that, just remind everybody that this and the other thing on this show and on this network is presented to you by this network as we are trying to continue to grow this thing. We've had a lot of growth over the last few weeks. I want to thank you for that. And please keep it going. It don't cost anything, and it only takes about a hot second for you to hit that subscribe button, especially on the YouTube side of things, as we try to grow this thing. So please help us out. So our day in Philadelphia sports history, we go back to the illustrious year of 1995, and on this day, the Legion of Doom line, the line that consisted of John LeClair, Eric Lindros, and Mikhail Renberg, registered its first point in a 3-1 win over the Devils. We talked about the event that occurred in 1997 when the Legion of Doom line went off for 16 points against the Montreal Canadiens. I think that was last week. We talked about that. But on this night, the dust had settled from the trade that Bobby Clarke pulled off when the Flyers were sitting at a 3-7-1 to start off the 95 season. Now, for those of you who do not know, and I'll school you here, I'll educate you. The 1994-95 hockey season did not have a 94. It only had a 95. They had a strike that they delayed the season to start until January. And when the season did begin, the Flyers started off 3-7-1. Bobby Clarke had had enough. You know, it was the entering, I think, their third year with Eric Lindros. And you know, things weren't trending it wasn't going quick enough. And fans were getting frustrated. And Bobby Clarke pulled off perhaps the greatest trade in Flyer history. An under-the-radar move that propelled the organization into contention over the next 12 years. I mean, let's face it, they were hot for a while. And that was the move that sent Mark Recchi to the Canadiens in exchange for Marcel Dion, John LeClair, and Eric Desjardins. Desjardins and LeClair, of course, have gone down in history as two all-time Flyers. John LeClair, you know, number's not retired, which I still don't understand why John LeClair's number's not retired, but he came in and was really the yang to the Lindros yin. For the majority of Lindros' career here in Philadelphia. And they clicked automatically right from the very beginning. LeClair took himself from about a 20-25 goal scorer to a 50 goal scorer season guy. 4 times he scored 50 or more goals as a Flyer in his career with Philadelphia. And as I said, it was a very under the sort of radar trade. John LeClair wasn't a name that jumped out at you if you were a hockey fan. It absolutely was not. But it ended up being, again, probably the most influential trade in Flyers history. And on this night, the Legion of Doom line, which only actually spent 3 seasons together, Mikhail Renberg's injury problems sort of got the best of him. The Flyers ended up trading Renberg in a deal that got them Simon Gagne. So it worked out well for the Flyers. But on this night, the Legion of Doom line, which really kind of started the rejuvenation of the Flyers, got their first point ever in a game against Montreal in 95. And it was the first game that LeClair played against the Canadiens since he got traded that year. So, it was a night of first there for the Flyers as they beat the Canadiens 3-1, and Legion of Doom line got their first goal and point. So there you go. Your moment in Philadelphia sports history. The Flyers, Legion of Doom, record their first point as a line. And I said this the other night when we were talking about the Legion of Doom again, when they had that 16-point night in one game in a 9-5 win, again, over the Canadiens. Interesting. The Flyers are in desperate need of a trade like that right now. If there's anything that this team needs, is a trade like that. But unfortunately, I don't know if that trade's coming anytime soon because we don't have the yin yet. We don't have a player that will complement a player. A lot of people think that that's Michkov. I think we're putting the cart before the horse a little bit with Michkov. I don't know if he is that player. Maybe he's the complement player. Maybe we already have the complement player and we just need to bring the player here. I don't know, but the Flyers are in desperate need of a trade like that to sort of get this rebuild kicked in the ass. And until something like that happens, until Danny B can pull off a trade like that, or if they can go out and draft a kid that's going to be immediately a success and immediately a impact, and or to sign a free agent, this is what we're stuck with. But we've seen it. It's happened before in Flyer history. It happened with John LeClair. It can happen. And that's what Danny B has got to hopefully centering himself on, trying to find that next John LeClair trade. So there you go. Your day in Philadelphia sports history. Legion of Doomline, only together 3 seasons, scored their first point in a win over the Montreal Canadiens. And again, that was brought to you by the great folks here over at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Once again, please give us a like and a share, a subscribe, a shout out, a pass along, all those great things. Help us help you. All right, so I guess now the conversation can go right back to the Eagles, as we are, as I said, 48 hours into our post-Super Bowl celebration. And I have to admit, it's been tolerable. It has. Eagle fans are rightfully taking their victory laps. Eagle fans are rightfully rejoicing from the highs and the heavens. And it seems a little gauche to kick dirt in their face right now. It seems a little gauche for me to kind of go and start, we talked about this last night as it was thrust down on me, start picking up the mantle of some new narratives. So I'm okay with just letting it lie and enjoying this for a while. But the news came down today that Kellen Moore has officially taken the job with the Saints. So let the purge begin. The first of the now missing pieces of a dynasty are gone, as Kellen Moore is no longer the Eagle offensive coordinator. He will take over with the Saints, which I told you this last night. I don't necessarily think this is a big move for the Eagles. I don't think this is a big problem for the Eagles, losing Kellen Moore. I don't. I know there was a lot of hype bringing him here, coming off of what Brian Johnson failed to do as an offensive coordinator. A lot of the blame of the offensive problems were placed at the feet of Brian Johnson, and rightfully so. I mean, I guess, I don't know. It's hard for me to evaluate that based on what Saquon Barkley did. I mean, Brian Johnson didn't have Saquon Barkley. And they didn't commit like they did to the run. Maybe if they would have committed to DeAndre Swift. I mean, I think me and Kyle talked about it last year a few times. Was DeAndre Swift that kind of running back that you could give the ball 25 to 30 times a game? And we both said he wasn't. The Eagles never tried that. They were pass heavy. It didn't work out, what have you. And Brian Johnson took the blame. And here comes Kellen Moore. And, of course, it didn't start out well. There was reports right out of training camp that Jalen Hurts was having problems, either resisting learning the new playbook or not being able to learn the new playbook. But there was something that was not jiving with Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore right off the bat. And it had to be the playbook. It had to be the quick hitters, the curl rats, the slants, all those things that predicate Kellen Moore's motion offense. Coming into the season, of course, we saw it. The Eagles struggle. Jalen Hurts continued to struggle with the passing game. And then we talked about this, well documented, heading into the week 4 loss. After the week 4 loss to Tampa, they scrapped the whole plan, sat down and came up with a new Moriarty-like offense. And Jalen Hurts was able to be relieved of the pressure and the responsibility of trying to be a quarterback. And it worked out pretty well as they won the Super Bowl because of it. So now the search is going to be on for a new offensive coordinator, and who that might be is your guess as good as mine. There's obviously Frank Reich is one of the big names out there. It's heard John Gruden's name get tossed into the mix about that as well. McNown's name got thrown out there. I don't really care who it is, honestly, just as long as it meets 2 criteria for me. A veteran who has no head coach aspirations at this particular moment in time, and somebody that doesn't have an ego that will actually sit down and try to work out an offense that best suits your quarterback skill set. And I think that's going to be crucial if you're talking repeating, if you're talking about dynasty, if you're talking about continuing to build on this, bringing in an offensive coordinator that's not stuck on himself and wants to force feed Jalen Hurts something that he can't do. It's not going to work. And we've seen it not work. Jalen Hurts is a special kind of guy, and the offense needs to be run a certain way through him. So they got to bring somebody in that's willing to work with him. If they bring in someone that's straight up, no, you're going to run my system and that's the way it is, it's not going to work. It is not going to work. It's going to be a disaster, actually. So the search is now on for an offensive coordinator. The search is now on for somebody that's going to come in and be the heir apparent to Kellen Moore. And hopefully it can meet those criteria, as I said. So Kellen Moore officially gone as now the new head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And I posted a couple things on the internet today. Obviously, the first thing was we talked about this last night as well. Heading into the 25 season, the Eagles have the honor. They get the honor of kicking off the entire thing in 2025. They will have the first game of the season in Philadelphia on September 4th on Thursday night. That is the first. That's the start of the really getting things going early this year. We're about a week early than we were last year. September 4th is when the season will begin for 2025. That's right after Labor Day. I mean, that's like on the back end of summer. I mean, that's still summertime. But they'll get things rolling on September the 4th. And the Eagles will have the honor and privilege of kicking off the season at home. And I, here at the network, and those of us that are associated with the It's a Wrap Sports Network, threw out something there. We would like to see, or I would like to see, Eagles Lions. I mean, the Eagles have the Lions as part of their home schedule this year. That would be a great way for the NFL to kick it all off. Two teams, the defending Super Bowl champs, versus a perennial contending team that's trying to win their first Super Bowl. I think that would be an outstanding way, a marketing tool, a marketing way for the NFL to get things going in 2025. And obviously, it would test the Eagles right away. And you can look at it in a good way, too, that it gets the Lions out of the way early. So, more to follow, of course. We won't know the official schedule till May, but hopefully the NFL listens, man, because if you look at the home teams who the Eagles are going to play, they're not going to schedule an NFC East game. That's not going to be the way they're going to do that. I doubt they will. The Eagles then play the AFC West. They got the Raiders and they got the Broncos. Now, they could give it to one of them. They get one of their East Coast trips out of the way early on. That could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to either the Broncos or the Raiders, and hopefully it would be the Broncos. But I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to either the Broncos or the Raiders to get it out of the way. They also have the Rams at home. So, again, I wouldn't be surprised it to be the Rams. This is also another perennial type team. The Rams season ended on the snowy field of Lincoln Financial Field in the playoffs, and kind of get it going for them again in 2025. I think it'd be a good game and another good marketing tool. So we got some options here, but I think the best one, hands down, is the Detroit Lions, as that would be, I think, maybe a Super Bowl or NFC Championship game preview, or at least a playoff game preview for 2025. So we posted that earlier, and then we also went with I think one of the biggest narratives that it probably will absolutely catch no traction, and no one will talk about it, and it won't be considered at all. And I think it's a shame that it's not. That we put on there that if Howie Roseman is serious about being considered as one of the best GMs in the history of this game, if he's serious, and if he wants to win me back, which is a tall ask, trading Saquon Barkley right now in some sort of Herschel Walker-like trade, setting up the Eagles for the next 10 years, would show me that, one, Howie Roseman is thinking dynasty. He is thinking about putting his team truly in the best position they can possibly be in going into the future. And it would bring me back. I would forgive Howie for all his past indiscretions, and I would wipe the Herschel Walker-like trade. For you youngins out there, Google it. I'll set it up for you. So Herschel Walker was a member of the Dallas Cowboys back in the early 90s. Dallas was rebuilding, and they didn't have much to rebuild with. So they sent Herschel Walker, who at the time was really the only decent player they had, to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for Minnesota's first and second round draft pick, essentially over the next 3 or 4 years. Essentially, it was something like that. And they ended up taking those picks and drafting Emmitt Smith with them, Russell Maryland, Michael Irvin, the players that would turn out to be part of the Cowboy dynasty of the early 90s came from that draft, that trade of Herschel Walker. And I honestly believe if the Eagles and Howie Roseman could pull something like that off now, right now, maybe on draft night or, in as we get into the trade time and the free agent time. But if we could pull something like that off of right now and trade them to a team like, say, Cleveland, like trade them to, and maybe you throw Myles Garrett as part of that package. Myles Garrett and Cleveland's first round pick in 25, first round pick in 26, and a second round pick in 27 for Saquon Barkley. I would do it in a heartbeat. That to me is a Herschel Walker like trade. And that to me would also set the Eagles up for the next 10 years. And if they could swing, if Howie could swing something like that. And I know what's going to elicit the comments from the homers. Oh, well, you crazy, trade Saquon Barkley? Absolutely trade Saquon Barkley. We've seen this before, right? DeMarco Murray is the most recent example of this. They don't necessarily sometimes spring back to life the following season after having a season like what Saquon did in 2024. And anybody out there that's banking on a season like that from Saquon in 2025 is probably really misled. I'm not saying he's not going to have a good season, but I'm also not saying he's going to have a 2,500-yard season. But if the Eagles could find a way, because right now they still need to layer that offense. They still need to find something deeper inside that offense than what they have right now, and that's Saquon Barkley. You can move some players. You can move him for some draft capital. It would set this team up for the next 10 years. And that would truly signal to me that Howie Roseman is really serious about building a dynasty here, because that trade could do it for the Eagles. Now, also, if Howie mismanages the trade, it could actually backfire. But I think that it needs to be considered. And I think Howie needs to consider it. And I think he needs to shop Saquon Barkley this offseason to keep this team at the top. Because we talked about it again last night. If Saquon Barkley does not be Saquon Barkley, if Saquon Barkley did not rush for 2,500 yards, if the defense did not play the way they played, if the defense only played sort of like kind of superhuman, and Saquon Barkley rushes for 1,800 yards, or hell, 1,200 yards, this team does not win a Super Bowl. And especially on the offensive side, that's concerning. With the prolific wide receiver duo of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, why could we not get anything going other than the run game? And a lot of people will say, well, we didn't have to. And that's absolutely true. We did not have to. But are you going to want to go into 2025 not having to get the run game going? Don't sit back on your laurels, man. Get aggressive and try to stay above it, because once again, we go from the hunter to the hunted in a span of 9 months. So those are floating around out there. Give them a look, see what you think. Comment. I want to hear your feedback, but I think that those are pretty. I think the Saquon Barkley thing is a pretty good idea. I really do. And again, last night we didn't even really talk much about the game. I didn't even get a chance to dwell into the game much, but on the post game, I kind of gave them the kudos that they deserved. But as time has sort of passed, it's really sank in how dominating that effort was against the Chiefs. I'm looking at some of the numbers right here. 2 for 3 in the red zone, which for a team that's home run hitting like the Eagles, that's pretty good. 24 first half points, 16 second half points. They did commit 8 penalties, though. That was a little concerning. 8 penalties, 59 yards. They forced the 3 turnovers. They committed 1 turnover. They allowed Jalen to get sacked twice, and they got to Mahomes 6 times. And they were 0 for 0 on 4th down. They did not go for it at all on 4th down in this game. They lined up once like they were going to go for it, but they didn't go for it. I think that might be only like the second game all year that the Eagles did not go for it at all on 4th down. Again, you didn't really have to, the way the offense was set up and the way the ball was being moved. So, but again, overall, a dominating performance by the defense, a very satisfactory performance by the offense, and of course led to a 40-22 shellacking of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Eagles' second Super Bowl championship in franchise history. 145 points scored in the postseason this year. Averaged 36 and a quarter points a game. Amazing. 77 points allowed, gave up 19 points, 19 and a quarter points a game. Just an amazing run, amazing postseason, and an amazing Super Bowl. 23 turnovers in the last 7 games. I really cannot understate how important that was. And I really can't understate how I believe that that's solely responsible for why we won the Super Bowl. I'm telling you. Cannot understate that enough. And all that equates to 11 o'clock in the morning on Friday, the second Eagles Super Bowl parade, which will wind its way up Lincoln Financial, outside of Lincoln Financial Field, up Broad Street, bang left around City Hall, down the Ben Franklin Parkway, over to the Art Museum, sometime Friday afternoon. So make sure if you're going, and this is applicable now, make sure you get your spot on Broad Street. It's the time now. I mean, get out there tonight. I don't think anybody would stop you if you set up like a little shanty town somewhere on Broad Street. I don't think anybody would. I mean, this is isn't Philly a sanctuary city? No one cares about that crap anymore. Go ahead and set up your little shanty town tomorrow morning. You have a great front row seat when the parade comes by on Friday. You know, bring the tent, you know, the Coleman stove, a couple coolers. Got a big old party for the next 3 days, man. But Friday at 11 a.m. I know there's some snow coming, but oh well, you'll be all right. Bring a heater. Friday at 11 a.m. the parade will start, and I will not be in attendance. I was at the first one. I had to go to the first one. I think we all had to go to the first one. They're saying that there'll be more people at this one. I don't doubt that. Should be a pretty big event. They don't come around too often, and I guess if you can get to it, I can't get to it. There's too much going on in my life right now, but if I could, I would. But if you can get to it, I highly recommend you go, just to say that you've been there. Snap some pictures, walk among some like-minded individuals. Don't drive into the city. Do not do that. Either Uber or take public transportation. I think last time, it was free to ride the L. I don't think they let you. I think SEPTA was free. I don't think they were charging you because they wanted you to take it to get down and not drive. So head on downtown, head on down the Broad Street, and enjoy. I brought my kids. We made a whole day of it. My mom. It was fun. It was a good day. It wasn't too bad weather-wise. It was chilly, but it wasn't too bad. But please, if you can get out there and enjoy the Eagles Super Bowl parade, because they don't come around too often, and you never know when they might come back. So Friday at 11 a.m. Mark the date on your calendar. I remember we went into the city. So I was in the Army at the time. So I was stationed up in upstate New York, and it's about a 4.5 hour drive from where I was stationed into Philadelphia. We left at like 3 a.m, me and my daughters. We drove down, got to my mom's around 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then we took the bus and we got into town probably, I don't know, it was around noonish. We got there. And we were able to see the thing go by. It was fun. It was very my girls loved it. One of my daughters got scooped up by some rando so she could see over the crowd. He put her up on her shoulders. It was really cool, man. It was really cool, and we had fun. So make sure if you can, I highly recommend you get down to the parade just so you can say you've been there and revel in this, because the whole city will get decked out of Eagle stuff hanging on all the lampposts and all that. It's a good thing. Do not drive anywhere near Center City. I can't stress that enough. But take Uber, have Uber drop you off at an exit ramp somewhere off 95, walk the rest of the way, or take public transportation. It should be free. I believe it was free last time, so it should be free. All right. So there's my Eagles 10 cents, as we are now living officially in the post Super Bowl world of the Philadelphia Eagles. And when is it appropriate to start talking about 2025? When is it appropriate to start talking about what Howie Roseman needs to do to stay on top? Kellen Moore's gone. There's some key players hitting free agency: Milton Williams, Zach Bond, Rick Lovato, the long snapper. I mean, he's key. Josh Sweat. These are all key players that are going to hit free agency here in the next few weeks. When is it appropriate to start talking about that? And then does Howie Roseman entertain the idea of trading Saquon Barkley in some sort of Herschel Walker-like trade to keep this team set up for the next 10 years? Is that something that should be entertained? I say it should be. I say it definitely should be entertained to try to keep the, if you want to win a dynasty, if you want to build a dynasty here, you're going to need more pieces. Teams change every year. Philosophies change every year. Luck changes year to year. You got to put yourself in the best situation you possibly can to stay on top of all that. And trading Saquon Barkley, which right now is your most valuable piece. I mean, he is the most valuable piece you have. Moving off of him on some sort of Herschel Walker type trade would be a masterstroke for, in my opinion, a fraud GM. And if he pulls it off, man, I'm on board. I'm on board with him. So is that something that the Eagles consider doing? I say they should. All right, let's move on now. Let's get into some baseball. We are one day away. I love it, man. I ain't gonna lie. The transition between, and that's the name of the show tonight, is it's transition time. And the transition between football to baseball, literally baseball starts tomorrow. And depending on where you're located at in the country, Division II and Division III and JUCO or junior college baseball has already begun. Division I baseball starts Friday. They have tournaments all over the South that are starting for Division I college baseball on Friday. Pitchers and catchers report to spring training tomorrow, and we are in the throngs of the college or the baseball season in general. And the Phillies will haul out the same group that they hauled off the field in 2024. And I brought this up before, and I'm going to bring it up again. At what point do we start holding Dave Dombrowski accountable for this? And at what point do we consider this a smack in the face to the Phillies fan base that you are so damn stubborn to think that a team that's been steadily, not slowly, but steadily regressing since that 22 magical run to the World Series and has been regressing ever since that, if you know, at what point do we find it insulting that you're going to run out the same players and expect the Philadelphia Philly faithful to accept that? And I want to know. And I know that on the heels of a championship, on the heels of a Super Bowl championship, thoughts are now turning. Are the Phillies the next? Are the Phillies next in the chute to win one? Has the pressure now been turned up on the Phillies to win one because of what happened to the Eagles? I mean, these are all legitimate questions that are probably going to be answered over and over or asked over and over again through the course of the next 7 months as we get into this baseball season. But the big question I have is, what are the Phillies doing? And is it a sign of disrespect that Dave Dombrowski expects the Phillies fans to say, we believe, Dave, we believe in the team that has been regressing since 22. And you have made absolutely no significant changes to that team, with maybe the exception of Trey Turner, but you haven't made really any significant changes to that team for 2 years. Your biggest offensive addition up to this point has been Max Kepler. Your biggest pitching addition up to this point has been Jesus Luzardo, who's a quality pitcher when he's not hurt and he's coming off of an injury season. At what point do we find it insulting that Dave Dombrowski thinks we're like a bunch of idiots, and he's going to try to actually sell this? Now, they've been selling it or trying to sell it. Rob Thompson has taken a very surprisingly shaky stance on Kyle Schwarber returning as the leadoff hitter. There's actually been solid conversations that I've heard Rob Thompson say about moving Trey Turner into that spot. Not just, we'll see, and we'll see how it goes, all that stuff that we're used to hearing him say. But no, he said, listen, we're going to look at it pretty heavily. Now, is that what they're going to do in lieu of giving us players? Are they going to listen to us as a fan base, tell them how to run the team? I'd rather get the players than him listen to us, tell him how to run the team. So if that's what's going on here, I don't want that. I want players. I don't want Kyle Schwarber leading off, but I don't want him listening to the fans about how to run this baseball team. I want the best possible thing baseball-wise for the Phillies. So tomorrow, pitchers and catchers will begin formal workouts. Now, I think just about the entire team is in Clearwater. I don't think that I think they've been there since about January 2nd, since after the holidays, and I think they've been getting ready up to this point. I believe the rest of the team officially reports on the 17th, and then they'll get things fully going. And I think the first game is the 22nd, the first spring training game. So it's here. It's upon us. And it's awesome. I love it. There's no gap. We got football, literally went to the very latest it could go for the Philadelphia sports fan base. And now, boom, we go into baseball with a Super Bowl parade yet to have. So, I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better than this in terms of transitions, and looking forward to it very heavily. And we of course will keep you covered and posted on everything baseball related this season, because we're proud to announce the return of the Fightins Final. That's right, the Fightins Final, the quintessential in Phillies post-game entertainment, will be making its return for its fourth season in existence. Fourth season, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, it's fourth season. Its first full season here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. We moved it over, if you guys remember, at the end of last season, when things happened, we stood the network up in early October. We were able to get, I think, the entire NLDS in on this network. But, because of the sudden change in the venue and all that, some things might have got lost in translation. But we're ready. We have a full season now on this network. So the Fightins Final will be back. And me, Sal, and Mike will be your primary stewards of the show in 2025 as we are gearing up for another season in the summer in the sun, as they say. So can't wait. And with that being said, let's move to our Of the Night segment, as we are getting back on track from not doing any of this stuff last night. So here we go. Let's do Of the Night. Yep, this is the Of the Night segment. This is the part of the show where we take a look at a Flyers prospect or a Phillies prospect or an MLB draft target or an NHL draft target or anything else that we do, and we just kind of kick it around a little bit. Or if I say Flyers prospect and Phillies prospects. Yeah, I forgot those two. But we enjoy this. This is to kind of introduce you to some players that you might not have ever heard of before, reintroduce you to some players that you haven't heard about from a while, and get your juices flowing. We've when we came on as a show back in October, we were pretty much focused on Flyers prospects only. But since New Year's, we've broadened that net, and we're pretty much dwelling into all of them, trying to stay on top of everything as it's all starting to come down on us at once. But here we go. We're going to stay in baseball, and we're going to go with a Phillies spotlight player. And what not better than to introduce one of the new Phillies players that we'll be seeing hopefully a lot of. Well, I guess hopefully a lot of. I don't know. He's a relief pitcher, so I don't know if you want to see a lot of them, but hopefully we'll be seeing him more than the Toronto Blue Jays saw him last season. Jordan Romano, the right-handed back-end bullpen piece, because you can't commit to any closer in this town because you run a bullpen by committee, but he does save, he does close, he has closed. He'll probably be an option in the back end of that bullpen with Alvarado this year. I guess he's the new, what would you consider him the new Estevez, as of course Estevez is gone. He's signed with the Royals, I believe. But Jordan Romano's coming off of an injury-plagued 2024. He only appeared in 15 games. He had a stellar 6.659 ERA, 13 strikeouts, 4 walks, and 8 saves in a very limited role with Toronto in 2024. But the Phillies are banking on him to be a big part of the back end of their bullpen in 2025. He is one of the moves that Dave Dombrowski, I think it was Steve Nooms, kind of keyed on it earlier in the offseason when we started rolling these players up. Every single player the Phillies have brought here this year is coming off some sort of injury problem in 2024, turning this thing into a mash unit. But Jordan Romano is going to be asked to do a lot of things for the Phillies. Back end of the bullpen, like, can he hold up? If he does, I mean, he was an all-star a couple of years ago. So when he's healthy, he's effective. The big question is, can he be healthy? And the Phillies are banking that he can be. And I guess we're banking that he can be too. So here you go. Jordan Romano will be part of your back end of the Phillies bullpen in 2025. Good luck. Good luck for all of our sakes. Good luck. And there you go. There's your of the night segment. Phillies right-hand pitcher, back end, closer-like-esque Jordan Romano. That's good, man. It's good to get that segment back going again, man. I missed it doing that last night. So let's keep it going with another segment that we do on the program quite a bit. It's my favorite segment of all time.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
Yep, it's the MattyB card review segment here on the program where we take one of my very many sports cards that I have in my collection, and we talk financial value, we talk nostalgic value, we talk intrinsic value, we just talk about it. And we've been doing this for a while. We're going to keep doing it. It's one of my more fun parts of the night. Get to show off some cards, get to talk about some players, get to relive some memories about when I might have actually pulled this card or found this card. And just have some fun. So let's get it going. We're going to football tonight. Yeah, we haven't done football much on this show. I have a modest collection of football cards. Baseball, of course, I have the most. But we do have some football cards, and we're going back into football tonight. And we're going college. We're going into the college ranks. And tonight's card of the night is the 2022 Amon-Ra St. Brown card from his days in USC. This is from 2021. So this is an auto card. As you can see, it is signed. It's from the Wild Card Illumination series of cards that they put out in 2021. A lot of color blasts in this set. It's a very colorful set of cards. Not as when you look at when you talk to people about card companies and you talk to people about people that have been putting out football cards. Wild card is kind of new on the scene, and there's sort of mixed reviews about them. This card I found on multiple databases at around the same as that card, the auto one, about maybe 35 to 40 bucks. It's been sold for. So a decent card that has the potential to grow in value with the player's ability as he continues on through his NFL career, and continues to insert himself as a fixture in the Detroit Lion offensive attack. So again, right now this card's about $35 to $40 value card. I actually have two of them. I pulled them back in November. Me and my stepson were at a card show right before Thanksgiving, and we bought a box of these cards, and we ended up pulling two Amon-Ra St. Brown auto cards from that box. And this is one of them. Let me show it to you. Let me pull it down. This is one of the cards right here. And it's a really good condition card. It is currently posted on eBay right now as we're looking to move it as well. And yeah, really good centering. Edges are good. No mouth, no dysfunctions or no disformities in the card itself. So I think this probably would grade out somewhere between a PSA 9 and a 9.5, maybe 10. It's really hard to get 10, but there you have it. The 2021 Amon-Ra St. Brown college USC card auto from the Illumination Wildcard set of 2021. And I said about 35 to 40 bucks. So there you go. There's your MattyB card review card of the night as we dwelled back into the world of football cards and had some fun with that. So, all right, let's kind of wrap it up, I guess. Quick moving show tonight. Of course, we talked. Our day in Philadelphia sports history was your vaunted Philadelphia Flyers and the Legion of Doom line scoring their first ever point together on this night back in 1995 against the Canadiens. Legion of Doom line only spent about 3 years together, but they were definitely a kick in the ass to get the franchise turned in the right direction, something that this group of Flyers sorely needs. So on this night, the Legion of Doom line with their first ever point as a line in a game. Of course, we continue on with the conversation, the post-Super Bowl and the transitional time frame that we are living in right now. We're living in 48 hours removed from winning a Super Bowl championship. And then we also have tomorrow where pitchers and catchers report to spring training. And, there's a lot of baseball ahead. And obviously, baseball is still going to sit in the back seat a little bit longer as we get through the rest of this week. They got the parade at the end of the week. And then I would imagine around this point next week, things will start cooling off and baseball will begin to, just around the time that the entire team reports is when I think baseball will begin to step into the spotlight in this town. But the Eagles, of course, dominating the conversation as they are, 48 hours removed from winning their second franchise Super Bowl. Talked about what it's going to take to stay on top. Kellen Moore is gone. Who do you replace him with? I say it's got to be an experienced guy that doesn't have an ego and that will sit down and try to work a system around Jalen Hurts, not the other way around. And if Howie Roseman really wants to be considered, in my mind, one of the best, seriously considering moving Saquon Barkley this offseason in a Herschel Walker-like trade would go a long way in securing not only his potential legacy in Canton, but the Eagles' potential legacy of being a perennial Super Bowl contender for the next 10 years versus maybe one more year or 2 more years with Saquon Barkley. I think that conversation needs to be had. I think those phone calls need to be made. And I think pounding the pavement to see if Howie Roseman can do something like that definitely needs to be experienced. And I would be pleasantly surprised if he was able to pull it off. And then we talked about, obviously with the transition now that we've already lost Kellen Moore, things now are all already going to be different in 2025. And now the real work will start. And when is it okay to start talking about 2025? When is it okay to start looking at 2025? The schedule, we know the opponents. We know the Eagles now will kick the season off on that Thursday night football game. It'll be a home game too. I say it should be against the Detroit Lions. I think the NFL would miss a marketing opportunity by not putting the Eagles and Lions in that first game to kind of get it all just revved up from the very beginning. So looking at that, and we talked some baseball. We talked some Jordan Romano, your Phillies spotlight player of the night. Phillies are asking big things from a guy who spent a lot of time on the injured reserve list in 2024, a lot of back end of the bullpen time. And where are the Phillies in 2025? Your guess is as good as mine. And I guess we'll have to explore that together over the next few weeks, as all signs are pointing that Dave Dombrowski will be herding out the same group that walked off the field last year in 2024. And is that enough? Is that enough? And how much pressure is now on the Phillies for the Eagles having won the Super Bowl? Does that increase the pressure on the Phillies to try to win a World Series? And how cool would it be if they did? Wow. So great time to be alive in Philadelphia. Great time to be a Philadelphia sports fan. We will talk again tomorrow night as I'll be back for another rip-roaring episode. And also the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, the quintessential Eagle pregame show. We'll be back at some point later in the week as we will put a bow, a cap, a wrap, shut it down for the 2024 football season, as Kyle will probably take his victory lap all over my face, which is fine. But we'll be doing that here at the end of the week. So make sure you're tuned in, and make sure you're tuned in for, we're going to come back at you next week at some point for a Clear the Ice mid-season check-in show, as yes, the Flyers are still playing. They are. And the Four Nations tournament is starting tomorrow. Maybe we'll get into more of that tomorrow night. Until we talk again tomorrow night, guys, I wish you a great rest of your night, and I wish you an even better tomorrow, and we'll see you.